Yes, ma'am.
Welcome to Texoma Open Mics podcast in the historic downtown Denison, Texas, which is the home of the Katy Railroad, right? We are here at the brand spanking new podcast suite for Split Window Studio. Today is August 17th. I'm your host, Ann House. We have Brad Roberts here with us, Matt Blackshear, and my lovely husband, Christopher House. Denison is a music-friendly city. It is a designation by the state of Texas. This area has probably the most talent I have seen in any other area across the country. I've lived in Virginia. I've lived in Ohio. I've lived in Oklahoma. There's just been so many different places that I've been to in this lovely south part of the United States, Dallas. I grew up in Mesquite. That just doesn't have the level of talent that this small area does. And I always find that really, really, really interesting. Brad he has a degree in music. He has a degree in music from Berkeley, Boston?
Mm-hmm. College of Music, yep.
College of Music. Matt is completely self-taught. Still plays more instruments than I do. And I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. My lovely husband, of course, is a really great listener. He does some just helps out so very much. You know what?
He's still your husband.
He is still my husband. Yes, wow. He is still my husband. What is it about this area?
Trauma.
Trauma. Okay. That's you want to get. Let's go with that.
Well, I mean, if you want to really break it down, I would imagine a lot of it has to do with the MKT Railroad, which is probably where they shipped in and out a lot of alcoholic beverages.
Among other things.
And it just stuck, and all of our dads are alcoholics. We got the shit beat out of us, and they sang songs about it, and some of us were smart enough to go to school for it. Not me.
I don't know, Brad. How does that track?
Well, you know, I don't actually know who my dad is, so...
Oh, well, see, now that could be a problem.
Is that trauma? I don't know. I feel pretty okay about it.
I think we need to talk about it.
My father,
How does that make you feel?
My father and my grandfather were musicians in this area. My grandfather used to, which was Floyd House Sr., used to talk about hawking his guitar over at the Roach Pond in the 40s and 50s to raise money to enter poker games over in Cartwright or Colbert, where they were kind of back in the back room and and stuff like that. He was a real, in the early days, him and some of my other relatives were real honky tonkers.
Wasn't poker a huge deal here?
Yeah, especially across the river, because Denison was dry. So you had dry all the way up to Melissa, and then you had alcohol, and then you'd have it dry all the way to Dallas.
So we had rum runners.
Yeah, so you had...
Oh, yes.
So
this area is rife with it.
The only place to get alcohol for a long time was to go across the river.
Wow.
So that's why there's that big strip that used to be there.
I'm not saying I was right. I'm just saying. No, man.
You may very well be. The history of this area, because of that railroad and because of the crossing between between Oklahoma and Texas, across the Red River.
Yes, ma'am.
Preston Road, as it goes all the way down from Dallas and then some, right straight up to
Pottsboro.
Yeah, right straight up into Pottsboro. And at one point, there was a Preston Road area. He kept trying to make a city, but it never stuck. Mm-hmm. Right there by the river.
Yeah.
And well, actually, where the lake is.
Yeah.
He was in that area.
Well, where it is now.
Is that before they flooded the lake?
Yes, that's before they flooded the lake. So just so those of you who've never been in this area know, we have Denison Dam, and we have Lake Texoma. Now, Lake Texoma is a man-made lake done by the Corps of Engineers many, many years ago, World War II.
1940s.
1942.
Yeah, 1940s. And at the time, there were crossings across the area. Carpenter's Bluff is one. There are a few others. Preston was another
Cartwright Ferry.
And the Cartwright Ferry. But when they flooded that, they created a dam, of course, as they do, which we now can drive across and go straight into Cartwright, Oklahoma, which kind of leads, there's this great big stretch between Cartwright and 75, or Colbert, Oklahoma, that was part of the highway system at one point, which had, as it does now still, strip joints, bars, honky-tonks.
Keep talking.
The whole thing. And I think that's probably where part of the music history for this area comes from. But most people in this area, they know it, but it's an internalized knowledge. It's kind of like institutional knowledge. It's something,
exactly.
Right. It is something that people kind of know. They know in the back of their heads, but they don't really talk about very much because it's, something that happened that families live through.
Like my grandfather, my father's grandfather, Jesse, when I tell stories about, he worked on the dam. That's why he came here, was to work on the dam.
And didn't they have prisoners of war?
They did.
Yeah.
Over here?
They did. A lot of them were German prisoners of war.
Right. No, there's quite a few Germans that are stuck in that wall right now.
And I'm sure that there are families, with German descent in this area too,
Right.
for that very reason.
Yeah.
But I know that that's probably not what prompted you to start delving into music, dabbling.
No, Nazis have absolutely nothing to do with my piano playing abilities. Although I have written some songs about them.
Oh.
I'm not a big fan. I don't know about y'all.
I can only see how far.
We might disagree. I'm not judging you.
Thoroughly against.
I know, right? Matt Blackshear is a comedian, a musician, a songwriter,
Thanks.
and a very good one at
Because
that.
I wouldn't stop that. It's hard to call myself a songwriter when I just steal a
Please.
bunch of shit that John Mayer did and
Secret.
use my own words.
That makes you a good songwriter.
Yeah. Well, secretly, I also think he's one of the actors in the Ewok costumes.
I am.
You're so funny.
I've never
me.
seen Star Wars, but I know what that is because of this joke.
Oh man,
No, I was
The other fuzzy creature.
I was
the other
the,
fuzzy creature I know, right?
I was the hanging Munchkin on the set of Wizard of Oz.
Oh no.
I do have to say, this is rather refreshing because I'm usually on the short end of these jokes.
Don't get short with me, Bubba.
Oh no.
I don't know how else to be.
I have a short fuse.
So what did prompt you to start?
Oh, who knows, man? I mean, mostly like,
I know some of the songs
How do
that
I-
you've written, but I don't know, and I know why you've written some of them.
oh, I
But
mean,
I don't
like,
know kind of what started it.
when I was like 13, I think, because I played piano since I was 4, because I'm just a nerd. Like it's DNA, right? You have no idea where it comes from. It's just you find something that you absolutely love and you go with it.
Yes.
Football wasn't going to be that.
Yes, no.
Nope. And
Nope,
so
nope, nope.
I'm not going to be out here breaking anybody's ankles, so I'm going to break hearts instead.
Okay.
But I couldn't break hearts either, so I just started. I had to start writing music.
Right.
But at first it was comedic music. And so every time that I would go to a party, this is the nerdiest thing ever, but I was like really, really popular in high school.
Yeah?
That's not the nerdy part. The nerdy
Nope.
part is when I went to high school, it was cool to bring a Casio in the back of the pickup, right? So I would put a bunch of D batteries in a Casio keyboard, put it in
Yeah.
the back of my truck, go out to a bonfire, and then just start writing songs about every girl out there at the bonfire. And then that shit worked. And
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
and then
What girl
after a
doesn't want to
while-
have a song written about them?
Right, exactly. Like if you look like me, you better have a damn song in your pocket.
Oh, no.
So-
Okay. Just so you guys know, Matt is vertically challenged.
No, hey, that's the reason why we're audio. We're not a lot of lookers. Ann's probably the best looking one in here.
You're
It's
so
gorgeous.
sweet.
And so I guess I don't know. Like that's something to unpack on like why, but eventually, and I'm sure that you write songs, right?
Music.
Not really. I have, but I don't. That's not
Yeah.
really
Right,
my-
music.
No, wait a
Okay.
minute. I have, but I don't.
I don't regularly.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
The last song I
Now,
wrote
okay,
was
now
like
that I'll
12
take
years
that.
ago.
I'll take that qualifier there. I don't.
'Cause I would
regularly.
imagine like all songwriting starts from a place like when it becomes real, it does start from a place of like some kind of trauma, some kind of like heartbreak, heartache, something like longing for
Yeah.
a void, and it's a void filler maybe. I don't know. That's something
The
to unpack.
last song that I wrote was about, the loss of my pets.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. And Miley's Dead Pets album was one of the greatest albums of
Really?
this last 10 years. It's
I
so
actually
good.
haven't listened to it. I need to go and listen
Oh,
to that.
please do. Like it's beautiful. But I was like somebody cuz I've never had pets. So I was like somebody can like write this stuff that makes
Yeah.
me hurt and it's about a cat.
Yeah.
Like I might need to get me a cat.
You might need to get you a cat.
Maybe.
I have a sister-in-law who's got 3 kittens that are up for grabs.
Well, if I run out of songwriting utensils and materials, yeah, then I'm going to go ahead and get me a cat. But.
Why did you get a cat? I can see that conversation. Sir, why do you need a cat? Well, I need to write songs.
Well, I'm going to tell y'all right now, I've been writing songs about cat for about 20 years.
I should probably qualify that Matt is one of the most profane comedians I have ever heard
Hey,
in
I'm
my
reeling it in, baby.
entire life.
I'm reeling it back.
That's because you never heard Red Fox.
Yes,
Oh
I
my
have.
gosh.
I
dude.
have heard Red Fox.
Yes.
Oh, have you ever heard Red Fox? He is a comedian out of
Sanford and
40s,
Son.
50s, 60s, yeah. Do you ever remember Sanford and Son? They had a great big
No.
Okay. Go look it up.
So good.
The man is
And then he and Richard Pryor were like really
horribly
close.
profane.
Yeah.
And they were
I
both
recognize one of those
very
names.
bad. And then they ended up hanging out with George Carlin.
Oh, did they?
Oh, yeah. And so can you imagine those three in
Yes,
one room?
I certainly can.
Well,
I would
that's-
blush, and I was raised by a Marine.
The devil would blush. at
Yeah.
that point.
But that's like, imagine being on the set with, and we're getting far from music, but that's like being on the set with Robin Williams and what was
Jim Belushi?
No, they brought him on the third season. John
Winters?
Winters, yeah.
Yes, can you
I
imagine?
mean,
Oh, my
cannot
God.
imagine.
And that Pam, the actress,
Pam
said
Dauber.
she said that going to work was torture because she couldn't get through lines because these guys would just
Well, they got through some lines all right.
Yeah, they did. Only, yeah. Sadly,
ruin
that's
acting
true.
lines. Yeah.
Sadly, that is
But
true.
music-wise, I agree
I mean,
with Ian.
okay, so
we are just astonished from after doing the open mic show at Red Rock. I mean,
Just the level of talent.
the level of them was coming out was just like amazing.
Yeah, it
and,
was
you
wild.
know, to me, it's really, 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 really just. I mean, I get up for open mics or places that I sing, and I think about the other talent that's in this area, and I feel so very humbled. So very humbled
so do I.
because there's just so much of it.
Yeah,
I mean,
and maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's like the humility that you face whenever you think you're good, but then you face off with someone at just like a party or a bar
Right.
around here, and then you take it back home. You're like, oh shit, I better work on my craft.
Yeah, I need to practice every time I go
Every
out.
time I go out,
Yeah.
me too.
Like, yeah,
I need to
gotta
step it
do
up
more.
somewhere.
When I
along the
heard
line.
you, because I'm not a great singer, I do, but I'm not like, that's not my go-to. It's not my talent. And I heard and that was the first time I was like, yeah, I'm just going to give that one up. I'm done practicing. But Alex Cantrell is one as well.
He is.
Alex,
He really is.
Alex, who is my brother, and I love him to death, and he is probably the most talented person I've ever met in my life personally.
He really is.
And we grew up together. We've written like 200 songs together.
Oh,
and
wow.
then, and me and him both were not like singers off the bat. And then Alex just sold his soul to the devil one day. No, he worked his ass off.
You can.
He worked and worked and worked and worked, and he sat in his room forever and ever and ever and would record,
That's
listen
what it
back,
takes.
filter out. Record, listen back, filter out. And that's what
See,
I had to
that's-
do too.
People go. I was
what it
I was
takes.
raised by my father that put a guitar in my hand when I was like 2 years old,
Mm.
and I was fairly decent until I hit puberty.
Bluegrass?
Everything.
Everything.
But
Classic country
then I hit
family.
puberty and I wasn't concentrating on the guitar anymore.
It was opposite to me. I didn't learn guitar till I was 22, but for me, playing piano and drums growing up, I was just like, okay, like I loved it, but I wasn't passionate about it at all. And then I became a teenager and everything warped, right? But I was not
Teenagers
told
make
to do
everybody
it.
kind of warp a little bit, right?
Right.
You kind of decided to. I mean, is that kind of when you found your? Brad?
Yeah, so I did clarinet for a couple of years in school, and
Mm-hmm.
didn't really fall in love with it. But when Guitar Hero 2 came out, I remember had a buddy's cousin that brought it over one night, and when they all went to bed,
Oh my
yes,
gosh.
absolutely, and they all went to bed, and I remember trying my darndest to get "Laid to Rest" by Lamb of God on medium to where I could pass it, and I was like,
Good
you know
luck,
what,
bro.
I want to do this for real.
Yeah.
Oh my
So that
gosh.
was one of the songs, which is crazy, but it was one of the first songs I tried to learn. I didn't do it at first, but it was one of those like, I got to do this song. This is the whole reason I'm playing guitar. And then a couple years later I did, and I was like, well, now what?
I've hung around my whole life with alcoholics and druggies, and I'm going to tell you right now, after all of that, what you just said is still the craziest thing I've ever heard. I've heard some crazy shit. But you trying to go off on Lamb of God to start off?
Well, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I didn't make it. I ended up having to tackle easier things like Iron Man.
But you still didn't give up after that?
No, absolutely not.
Ain't no
I'm
way.
way too. That's the only reason I work in music at all
Stubborn.
now. 'Cause I'm way too stubborn to not
See,
do it.
and
That's the trait, isn't it?
that is, I really do think that is the trait, because I got thrown in choir, gosh, I guess I was 5, 6, maybe 7. And because my mom realized I could sing.
Yours is a
I was
gift.
too young. It's a gift. It's also a
But you
matter of
worked on it,
physiology.
right?
But I've spent 45 years training this voice to do what it does
Sure.
now, right? But I got thrown into choir when I was young, and my mom realized I could sing, but the choir teachers didn't. One of the few things I distinctly remember from that is singing. I don't remember what it was that I was singing, but I've got a natural vibrato to my voice that just, it long about the time I was, 8, 9, 10. And they were looking at me like, what the heck is going on there? So, yeah.
It'll rumble your kneecaps. I promise you that.
Thank you. It's...
So how were you whenever you decided that was a career?
50. No, I'm
51.
serious. 51.
You're lying.
I was
No,
there.
really? I'm not.
She would just play in choir and stuff. But when I first met her, I'd come over to, that's a whole nother story, but I'd come over to have dinner with her and her children. And she was in the bathroom bathing one of the kids, and she was singing.
Probably Kellen.
And I'm like, I walk back there and I'm like, hey, what radio station you on? I want to.
You really thought for real?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had people do that.
Yeah, I was
Yes.
like, what? And she goes, there's no radio in here.
It's so pure.
I'm like, oops.
It's a pure tone. And another thing that not very many people will understand what I'm saying, but you will. Your voice sounds already compressed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Like
It does.
and I think it's your
having
gain
worked with
control.
Tim, it's breath control.
Breath control? Okay, yeah. That's it. It's just wild to listen to. Have you heard Ann sing live?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, he has.
It's crazy. It hurts my feelings, but I love it at the same time. You're like every woman I've ever hugged.
Y'all are so sweet. I really appreciate that. Of course, I noticed that Brad's not saying a damn thing.
Brad, no,
I don't get to listen to you enough. It's usually like in the context
That's
of like
true.
1 or 2 songs, and then
Yeah, that's
and
true.
When,
well,
when that
that's just
happens,
like
I'm usually
What
like,
was the
Brad's
last time? It was like about
guitar
an hour.
style. Have you
Oh my-
caught him in the
No,
open mic?
yeah.
Really? Oh my!
You got one?
gosh.
I'm gonna try to be at the Horse's Axe this coming up Monday. So.
Okay, so what he's talking about, Horse's Axe, we've got open mics all over the place here. That's one of the benefits of being in this area.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to do a shout out to a couple of the places, especially the ones that I like. Kickbacks on Armstrong has an open mic on Wednesday night that starts at like 6:30 and goes till 10:30. Extended it. They had to because they had that many people. Horse's Axe. I still can't believe I'm saying that. Horse's Axe. There is a place that serves beer and allows people to throw axes at wooden targets.
Only in
Fantastic.
Denison.
No, it's a franchise, Matt.
Is it?
It is. There's one in McKinney.
That's why they're so nice. Because I was
I
like,
know, right?
Denison is very well known for, like, you walk in and you're like, man, I hope they survive, man.
And that's what I was thinking. I was like, beer and people throwing axes. Like, I'd rather have them a place like where they can do that rather than like on the street where they aren't normally doing it.
Yeah. Everywhere on the street, besides the Horse's Axe, you need to sign a waiver as soon as you walk in.
You really do. I'm telling you.
You never know what's going to happen here.
There's the Loft in Whitewright. They do one on Thursday nights.
Open mic?
An open mic, right? And
Horse's Axe is a Monday. Did you say that?
Horse's Axe is on Monday.
And
That's
who
right.
does those on Mondays?
Tim does that on
That's
Monday.
right. Tim does.
Tim the
Rogers.
guy. Tim Rogers is the guy who works with me. He plays like umpteen dozen instruments, and I sing.
And he records.
And he records. And we're actually recording with Sean Fussell right now. So between the three of us, we're going to come up with something really good. And then on every other Tuesday night, there's one at the Elks Lodge. So, I mean, if you wanted to sing, you wanted to perform, you wanted to do anything in this area, you could.
Oh, no. The
And then
Elks
the
Lodge on
amount of-
Gandy?
No, in Sherman.
Oh, in Sherman? Oh, okay.
In Sherman. It's over on 1417. So if you take the 1417 exit in Sherman, Texas, and hang a right, and it's on the left.
And they make killers Philadelphia cheesesteak.
Yeah,
Okay.
because the
I'll hit
guy
it
who
up.
makes them grew up in Philly.
There was a group that I saw. There was a rock band of young guys who go by a different name now.
Rise.
A couple years.
You're talking about
Yeah.
Rise.
So I got to see them over at the Elks Lodge a couple years ago, and there was a band there that kind of sounded like Judas Priest. Like they had a singer who could hit those high notes. And I wish I could remember the name of that band, but they were excellent. So yeah, I like going over there.
They're really,
cool.
it's
Pretty
really,
great place.
Yeah, there's
well, the cigarette smoke I could do without, but
Not me,
private club.
mama.
another one that I got to do a call out for is because I went to school with him, and because he shows up everywhere, and that's Greg Guyman.
Greg
I mean, you
is
walk
still
into a
at it.
shoe store and, hey, Greg, what are you doing here? Oh, got a gig.
You know what? Greg's son, Sawyer,
Oh,
is going to
yeah.
be famous in about 3 years.
I know,
and
right?
Greg
yeah.
can retire, and he's still going to be playing at
I know,
Rendezvous
right?
Room
He
one
really,
night.
Greg and Sawyer and Fred Spears were our first guests for our previous show. They did the
I
inaugural
love
show.
Fred.
Greg is
Bill
a
and Fred.
really great guy. And Sawyer is so cute. And
He
I say
is,
that
dude.
I say that as a 55-year-old woman looking at somebody who could be my grandson.
I
He's just
say that
cute
as a
kid.
37-year-old man.
He's
I'm
so
like,
cute.
this is where me and Brad
hopefully
don't say
heteros.
nothing.
Yeah.
No, this is where I need to be quiet. But I saw him at Rendezvous the other night, right after they played at the Hot Summer Nights.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, Greg has that blood, and apparently Sawyer has that blood where he just cannot stop.
Yeah,
And they'll play 3 shows a night. And,
they really will.
Greg went to Denison and played a show, and then Sawyer and his mom went to Sherman down the road at Rendezvous to play
Rendezvous,
the show.
yeah.
I walk into Rendezvous right after there, and I'm seeing that kid. I haven't seen him in like 2 years, right?
I know.
The boy has grown
He
19
has.
inches in 2 years,
It feels like it, doesn't it?
and his hair's all long and stuff. And I was just like, who's that kid over there? He's amazing.
Uh-huh.
And then his mom walked up, and I said, don't I know you? And she was like, yeah. I was like, who's that kid? And she was like, oh, that's my son, Sawyer. I said, no.
He's this big.
He's this big. That's what I said. I was like, he's
It was
my
amazing.
my size. Nope.
When we were doing our show over at Red Rock, which is the Texoma Open Mic at Red Rock Saloon, and you can find a couple of the episodes on YouTube. We never got the episode with Sawyer's band finished.
Where was I?
Nobody showed up that night, Matt. You came later.
I
You
did?
You came after they started taking down and everything.
Damn it.
You
I
missed
love
it.
watching them
'Cause
play.
Sawyer's great. Oh, and Jeremy's son and his band were
Oh,
up there playing.
yes, that
That
was
one
when
I was there for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you were.
That's
weren't
when
you?
I was working that night. And then, I think the night after, Aiden ended up playing at 34 Chop House.
Did he really? That's
Yes,
great.
Which
I'm
is
so
a
glad.
weird place.
I know it's a weird place
a
for what is
punk,
it? Wait, punk rock?
emo.
Metalcore. So this is
Metalcore.
right up my alley. This
Yeah,
is where I'm
that's
at.
okay. So
Like-
that's
like
why I
modern
wanted to talk to
metalcore.
him
Gotcha.
because
They were
this is
there?
the only man
At
I
34
know.
Chop House, a place where steaks are $113 a
Right.
piece.
And just so
Tiny
you guys
hole in the
know,
wall, so-
it's catty corner from this building. We've
It
got
is?
windows
Oh,
here
that way.
where we can see directly out onto Main Street, and right directly across is the 34 Chop House.
And it was I wanted to go so bad because you know me, I'm a comic. I
Yeah.
love seeing chaos.
Yeah.
And so
What
You
could be
like
more
creating
chaotic
what
than
could
a
be
metal
more
band?
chaotic
It's
than a
like-
metal?
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
a metal band and a snooty, and I don't mean that in a bad way because I'm over there all the time. And I love hanging out with snooty folks. They're the funnest people because whenever they're in a bar, they finally let loose, and it's like a combustion. And but richer people who can afford those steaks.
And the drinks
And
cost.
the drinks.
I've been over there
but,
once.
But it's because, there are places in Denison, which I love, they filter out, white trash like me. And then somehow white trash like me gets invited because they like to have fun. And so I would love to see all these guys in ties getting off work from the attorney's building and stuff like that, just sitting around with their pinkies out, listening to... I can't do it. Can you do it?
What did you call it?
Not
Metalcore?
Yeah,
Metalcore?
metalcore.
Okay, so
Modern metal. Yeah.
here's the introduction for Brad. Now, the first time I saw Brad play something, and you've got to understand that the way he looks does not match what he plays.
Ginger.
It really doesn't. He looks like this really nice guy.
And I am not.
Yeah, if you were to ask, and if you were to do a survey and say, who would most likely be an axe murderer in this current group?
Perhaps
I'm not
Brad.
saying
Challenge
anything.
accepted,
These,
Brad.
these allegations are as of yet unproven.
I got to
plead
be
the
honest. When he picked up an electric guitar, and I'm going, oh, okay, so this ought to be interesting. And
Ripped.
man, he just ripped it right all through.
Yeah.
Shredded everything. And then he came and played one night at the Red Rock when we were doing our show, and he played the most beautiful classical piece.
Well, that's the thing about metal artists, isn't it?
I'm not sure where the hell all that comes from, but that is a level.
Spite.
Hell,
Yeah.
spite. What is your option? What is your thought there? You know,
I mean,
Trauma.
technique.
No.
Technique for
it's
sure.
it's a technique. I know it's a technique, and I know it has a lot to do with learning before. You have to learn music in order to decide that music is what you want to pursue, right? So I sang because my mother shoved me into it, right? And then I sang because I liked it, and I'm good at it, all right? So you started playing guitar, decided that you liked it, you were good at it, so you wanted to study it more, and you just hide your happy butt off onto Boston.
That's where he's heading.
So
no,
you went right
he's not.
from
He's heading to New York.
Oh,
Right
you're
from
heading
high
to New
school?
York. That's right.
Well, no, and so without getting into my entire villain backstory here,
Aw.
I did decide pretty early on. I played at a open mic, or not an open mic, a talent show in middle school. They had all 6th, 7th, and 8th graders here in Denison. They shoved everybody into the gymnasium, and they're like, okay, we're gonna have kids go up on stage and do their thing in front of everybody in this giant stage, giant space.
Oh, that doesn't give anybody stage fright whatsoever, right?
And well, funny you say that, because I think we were last, and I had gotten together a friend of mine who also played guitar and a friend of his who played drums. And we wrote this short little song, and I had 2 solos in it, and I was so scared. I had an entire wireless, I wasn't hooked up to my amp.
Right.
But I was so scared. I was half behind the curtain on the stage. And when we started the song, I actually played the 2 solos backwards from each other. But it didn't, and I think we were last too, so we were pseudo headlining as much as you can a talent show. And when we got done, of course we ended up, I think, tying for 2nd place with the other band that had played.
Right.
Because the girl who won was little 6th grader. We were in 8th grade at the time, little 6th grader who sounded like no, she sounded like Adele, and she didn't need the microphone and could just fill the entire gymnasium. So she ended up winning, which that was fair. She was great. But we did that, and I remember people were freaking out when we were playing, and I had people coming up to me
Happy
strangers. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it was they loved it. And I had total strangers hugging me and saying oh, that's tell me how cool I am, basically. And I was like, I like this. This is great.
How old were you?
8th grade was probably 11
8th
or 12.
grade. Okay.
Maybe 13.
And so
13, 14.
at first you're sitting there behind the curtain, all right, I'm going to do this for my band, or I'm going to do this because I practice or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Was it immediately after that show where you were like, oh, dude,
Oh, yeah.
balls out?
I knew exactly what I wanted to do with my life. I was like, this is it.
Yeah.
I've been chasing that high ever since, basically.
Yep.
I think most musicians do. I didn't realize that it was okay. So I had extreme stage fright. It was just not.
Oh, yeah. She's like,
I'll believe that for 1 second.
oh,
Yeah,
yes.
big time.
I still have.
Yeah, and I do
You do?
too, to a certain extent. I do too, but I figured out how to kill that. But I didn't do it until I was 51.
What?
Sing in front of
Get
people.
out there and do it.
That's it?
You just have to get up there and do it. Yeah, you just have to get up.
Honestly, and you wouldn't believe this about me either, but I have stage fright every time I get on
there
stage.
and do it. Really?
Well, you've had to pry me up there. I'll be
I
smoking a
did.
cigarette.
Yep.
And I'm like, I'm not ready. He's like, I don't care.
I
And-
didn't at the
but-
time because we had a time frame going
We
there.
had a time frame, right? And so I still have that, but that's when I do, comedically, that's when I do my best. But like with nerves and stuff, playing piano, I told Tim one night, I was like, I need weighted keys. He's like, why? And I was like, because I sweat. And Tim knew exactly what I meant, because your fingers will slip off of it.
Yep.
And you'll hit 2 keys at a time. And I'm such a perfectionist. And
Oh
Tim,
gosh, and that song that you play, I call it the hurdy-gurdy song.
it is hurdy-gurdy.
Right.
Yeah.
It-
I knew
Have you
what
heard
you meant when you said that.
Have you heard this? You've probably heard it.
I don't know. The one that like sticks out to me that you do is like the very like kind of classically based.
Yeah, the waltz.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what she's talking about.
Okay, yeah,
It's called,
that one's fantastic.
It's called Circus. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate
It is, yes.
But
And it
it's-
is. To me, it's a hurdy-gurdy song.
Yeah, there's a lot of sliding around on it, and I was just like, I'm not ready. I got a cigarette in my hand, my hand's shaking, and I'm like, I can't go
Now,
out there yet. I
to
can't
be
go out there
fair,
yet.
I did not notice the shaking. I just saw the cigarette.
Right, okay. Well, I'm sitting over here freaking out, and it's like, get on up on stage. Like, we got a time frame. Okay, last puff. I walk out there, and my hands just, as soon as they touch a piano, then I'm fine. Like, a piano is like the love of my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you were married to the right person, which y'all guys know what I'm talking about, if you're married to
Yeah.
the right person,
I
and
do.
you're having a freak out moment, that person touches your hand, and now you're just calm, and you don't have a clue how your body did that. That's what a piano is for me. So, sorry, ladies, I'm never going to love you that much.
Is that what guitars are for you, Brad?
Yes and no. So yes, I love playing guitar, and usually like when I start a song, I'm shaking and stuff. Sometimes it's halfway through the song before that actually goes away. But I love guitar. It brings me lots of joy. I love diving in and analyzing things about it. It's also the bane of my existence.
Okay.
Simultaneously, just because there's always more to do, there's more to learn. There's so much, which I love that. I love that it's something you've never done with. But
Yeah,
also
it's a
you know,
relationship, right?
Yeah, it's something that can be kind of frustrating sometimes, and it's like I want to do this and this thing whether it's physical or kind of conceptual. It's like there's something in between me and doing and being able to do this. I'm too stubborn to take that for an answer, and I try to.
So, just like a
constantly-
relationship, whenever you're learning her, and you're like, you build a new like in a relationship,
him.
you go through shit, and then after that, the argument and the fighting and the hurting and the pain, and then you've built like a new step on the ladder, right? And now you can get through more because of it, but you're willing to go through more afterwards.
So music to you is like a relationship.
Oh, it is a relationship for sure. I think the first time I told you this, I called it spiritual. I was wrong. It's because spirit is more so about allowance, and there's a lot more. It's about learning for sure, but it's a lot more about like taking zero credit, accepting. Whereas music is like a relationship where I can take credit with it, like
In addition to, alongside.
A
Yes.
partnership.
Yeah.
A partnership.
Yes, a partnership, because in a partnership, you're sitting here, and circus is a lot about that, like the
Yeah.
internal fight, the monologue that you have in your head where you're yelling at yourself, and that's what being on an instrument or being in music feels like to me, where it's the internal, I hate you, I love you. Like Brad said, like
Yeah.
it's a, how did you
That
word
and
that?
it's your favorite thing in the
Yeah.
bane of your existence.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it does have like those moments of like I love it and I hate it, but then it's like you get somebody like talk about it like, and it's like I can't take credit for this. Like it feels like yes, I put in a lot of work into it, but also it feels like I'm not really. There's almost a factor of luck to it, right? It's like I kind of lucked into stumbling upon this achievement. Like I did work for it, but also like I couldn't have imagined maybe setting out what that would have looked like.
What's the percentage for you of luck and trial?
Man, I think it depends on the day and what we're talking about.
Yeah, I totally
Yeah.
agree.
Some
no,
days
I'll
it's
give you that one.
66% luck and 33% my work, and then some days it's like I had to work for 100% of that, man. Every note was just a battle to try
And some
and get
days
out.
you look back and you go, who the hell just did that?
Oh yeah, I watch myself on video all the time, and I'm like, That's me. And then there's other times I'm like, oh God, is that me?
Yeah. No, I have been there. I've got a YouTube channel, right? And I do not like to be videotaped. I hate it with a purple
Oh,
passion.
but it's so good for us.
But it is. It's very good for us. But it is necessary. And every once in a while, I'll go in and listen to, or somebody will play.
Me.
Darling husband, yeah. He will play one of my videos that he's taken because oh my God, he records the crap out of me.
Not really. Don't take that literal.
Not literally.
And I listened to it and I'm going, who the hell is that? That's one of my songs. It's one of the songs I sing. Mm-hmm. And it's me, right? And then there are a few of them out there and I will hunt the boogers down and delete them from every part of the interweb.
That your old man recorded? Or that somebody else recorded?
Somebody else did.
Yeah, because everything he does is much better than
on.
what we've all done.
I know, it's
he's
spot on.
great about
really
recording.
is.
And you know what? I can tell you're a musician because you have found the right places in the room. I've seen you do that.
He's got a really wonderful eye.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell tales on you. He's got dyslexia, right?
Okay.
Which means that everything comes into his brain. And not a bit of it is filtered out. Most of the rest of us have a filter that, like the air conditioning unit that I can hear behind me. All of it goes into his head. And how he manages to sort that out and make some of the things that he does. He's an artist. He, in several different mediums, and he's a writer, and that's where a lot of my lyrics come from.
Really?
When I actually get around to like making the music part, which I need to work on, his lyrics are going to be a majority of it. He writes poetry.
So it's more of a, sorry for interrupting,
fine.
more of a defragmentation with all this
Yeah.
information?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's more when people say, "Oh, how did you come up with that picture?" And I go, "It just kind of fell there. I was trying to filter out some other stuff, and it's the negative."
Got you.
And that's what a lot of those videos are.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I can't think of a video that he's done that I don't like.
So, but you will go scour the internet.
I
and
will scour the internet and find all the ones where I sound off key. And
I don't know
sadly,
that that's possible.
yeah, it's possible.
The internet is forever.
It is.
No, I don't think it's
I say
I
on
don't
the internet.
I don't think it's possible for you to be off key.
Oh yes,
So, yeah, I can. I've had people accuse me of having perfect pitch.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm one of them.
Yes, you are. You are one of them. I do not have perfect pitch.
Wild.
I've just been doing it for so long that I know I know when it's the wrong key and know how to change it to the right key. And I don't have any problems scaling from one key to another depending on how it's played.
Do you warm up? Yeah.
I do. I warm up all the time. Not as much as I should, though. I'll be honest.
Oh, you don't do it right before every single performance.
Sadly, I don't.
Right. No. You're fine.
My gosh, it's.
What, you going to be outside of Say When on a 7:30 Friday? Da, 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 da.
Yeah, I'm singing to my customers that I'm working with at 4 o'clock in the afternoon so I can get ready. Now, luckily, most of them start at 7:30 or 8. Like when I play out at the Green Growler, it's 7:30 to 10:30, and there's one that I do out in Plano, I guess it is. It's a little wine bar, and that's like 8 to 11. So I've got that whole hour drive there
Do you do
warm up.
Hanks on Sundays?
We did it once. We haven't had a chance.
I haven't done it yet.
I need to go back. I honest to God do, because
it's
it's
getting-
really great.
Hey, I hate to cut this off, or we're going to have a lot to hack through. But,
Oh, I know.
it's only a 30-minute podcast, and we're 8 over.
No, it's an hour. We're here for an hour.
Oh, we are for an hour? Go, guys, go.
Cut that out. We got
Never
plenty of time.
mind.
No,
We'll edit
we've got
that out.
plenty of time.
Let me chase that monkey down, and I'll kill him.
Brad, I want you to tell us about that program that you're in, because you were so excited about that. When you mentioned it, a year ago, I think.
Well, so I actually changed kind of the direction because I was planning on going back to Spain I spent
That's right.
Spain.
yeah,
Back
that was the
to
one.
Spain.
Yeah, so I spent 4 months over there studying abroad as part of my undergrad back in
speak
2019. Very little, muy pequeño.
Simón, está bien.
I every once in a while I get to use it at work. But anyway, I was over there for 4 months and was really dead set on going back and doing that when it came time to do my master's degree. But in the time since I've left Spain, Berkeley has started a program in the New York area where they renovated the Power Station studio and started doing a program out of it.
Wow.
Yeah, Power Station.
And when it came
Matt's
time,
jaw just kind of went down onto the table almost.
And the narrative
Wow,
is
dude.
but I applied to the two programs because I've kind of 100% bought into the Berkeley ecosystem and I really enjoyed my time there. Really enjoyed the people that I met and was like, yeah, I would love to do a round two. So I applied to both the Spain and the New York programs, and I of course got into both of them. Scholarships paying for it either way, so it was just like, which one do I want to go to? And there's kind of really two things that made me change my mind about going to Spain, which was one is I think the program in New York is going to be a better fit because I don't feel like I'm not an artist per se. I kind of play other people's music and I will do the tech for other people. I don't. And I think my strengths lie in not trying to do my own artistic thing. But the Spain program was really kind of create music but with a technological bent to it. And from my perspective, the New York program was more like, kind of what I feel like I do which is kind of take other people's music and enhance it in certain ways. So between that and then just like I've been to Spain, I enjoyed Spain, but I have done that and I haven't lived in New York for any amount of time. And I have more connections there. My English is far better than my Spanish is, and I think just in terms of long term.
That's not what they speak in New York.
So how long will you be?
I may have miscalculated at some
You
point.
may have miscalculated at some point.
But I think it was going to be a better fit in New York, and just I think career-wise was going to move the needle more than the Spanish program. So I ended up deciding on the New York program, and
so the
we'll be leaving in a
difference
week.
between the New York program and the Spain program is elaborate.
I'm not sure that I can elaborate any more than I already have. I mean,
Okay, you didn't say anything about what the New York program was geared towards. You said what the Spain program was.
So the New York program is the one I'm doing is the specialization because all the master degree there is the same. What's different is the specialization. So my specialization is going to be live sound and stage design, which is more of a kind of tech. I mean, they're both tech focused, but less of a writing and more of a, I guess, support role for lack of a better term. And it's much more focused on kind of creating events and putting things together, kind of as a whole. So not just the live sound, but there's like a lighting, projection screens, stage props, I guess, 3D design element to it. So all those things, some of those I have a background in, some of those things I do not.
Well, I got to say,
when I enhancing artistic experience.
Yeah, when I first met you, there was a location in Sherman called The Gathering. It was a faith-based coffee house, for want of a better term, that the man who ran it, Ray Matthews, was just, I love to listen to really good guitar playing. I have heard a lot of really good guitar playing in this area, Brad included. Oh my gosh. There's a busker that sometimes comes around here. His name's Jason Montgomery. He's just does some absolutely beautiful work.
He's a genius.
He really is. But Brad was back in the back of the room farting around with the sound when we
I don't think farting's the right word.
Losing my mind.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Like, oh my God, the YouTube isn't working for the karaoke tracks. Why isn't it working? And everyone turns around and looks at me, and I'm like, just please ignore the man behind the curtain.
I call that having an Asperger's flare-up.
Yes, no, that's accurate. That's accurate. That is very accurate. But he did a really great job of getting the sound where it needed to be and doing what everybody needed to have done. And then he got up on stage and played, and I'm going, oh my God.
Is it two different people?
Yes.
Yeah. See.
Well, you know what? That actually may not be true because I remember watching him while he was playing. And we're talking, I mean, literally shred music.
Mm-hmm.
There's
right?
a lot of notes.
It's a lot of notes. There's runs that I wouldn't even try in that stuff.
And it is classical, by the way.
There's a classical nature. There has to be, right? Everything comes from that.
Chromatics.
Yeah, everything comes from that. I mean, what I sing is there's a classical piece of it too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've studied a little bit of music history.
I remember
part of what
I
I've
remember
done
going
for
to the gathering and seeing when Brad would do sound. You had the same face when you did sound that
as you did when you were shredding, and I'm going, how does that happen?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild.
You know, it's like almost waiting for his tongue to slip out.
Oh no, I gotta watch that. The stank face, or like the guitar, like the bass player face. I think about that meme with the guitar players holding the slugs. I'm like, I want to not do that.
No, I can't help it. Like, I am two different people. I went to school for production. And so
Okay, all right.
there's a lot of me that has to go like full tism. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Whenever I'm doing the production part of it, when I'm like troubleshooting is like 90% of that job.
Yeah, I'm there.
I'm
in
there. I'm
it.
focused. I'm like, and my brain is kind of like not creating, but it's outside of myself, looking for what's gonna go wrong, right?
Yeah.
And what
trying to
has
look
already
ahead.
gone wrong? How do I fix it? How do I troubleshoot that? What's gonna go wrong? How do I keep from doing that? Whereas whenever I'm singing and playing, stank face, bro, like I lose myself. I'm outside of myself,
Yeah,
like
no,
40 yards away, and
Yeah.
I'm just letting it happen.
Yeah, I definitely, because, you know, is that two different people? When I perform, like, it has to be, because I'm maybe not, like, my personality is not that of, like, oh, look at me, like, I'm doing this
No,
thing, pay
Oh,
attention
no.
to me.
No,
But
it
when
really
you perform,
isn't.
like, it has to be, and so I kind of have to put on, you know, the face of, like, look, especially with the type of music, too, it's like, I have to be, whether I am or not, I have to, for 5 minutes or however long the song is, be the biggest Billy badass in the room
Yeah.
in order for it
I
to
know.
work, in order for it to, you know, to be able
Yeah.
to sell it to people.
Yeah.
You're right.
Forgive me, but it's like sex, right?
No forgiveness. You're right.
You don't want to be having sex with somebody, with your old lady, and be sitting here thinking about the quadratic formula. Oh, I
right.
love you so much. X equals negative z plus or minus the square root of z squared minus left, right, left. No, you don't want to do
I think I've
that.
been doing it wrong.
Wait a minute.
Just kidding. I'm
Wait a
a good
minute.
noodle.
Oh, that's priceless.
I'm going to take some notes. Now, what was you saying?
He's got a pen in his hand.
Now, see, I was told that angles were important. Now you need to tell me they're not.
Oh my gosh.
Brad's a comic too, man. Let's go.
You know, hanging out with musicians is just one of the best things in the world as far as I'm concerned. I have so much fun hanging out with musicians. And who would have thought, right? So you asked me earlier, when did I decide that this was what I wanted to do with my life? And I literally was about 50, 51 years
Never
old.
too old.
You're never too old. Well, yeah, you are. But,
Disagree.
well, you know what happens to a soprano when they get older, right?
No, I'm not.
They become a
soprano.
bass.
Do they?
Yeah, they do.
All right.
Yeah. Most of them do anyways. And I am a soprano. There's no getting around that. Right?
When you said that in my head, honestly, I thought you meant that you offed people, like you got rid of the garbage. But now I know what you mean.
I'm a mom. So, yes. No, seriously. When you have kids, you decide that you're going to do something that supports your kids. You know this,
Yep.
right? Brad, you're still single.
Yep.
Same.
Now, that last conversation would have people believe otherwise. Let's keep
That's
that.
true.
Let's keep that persona
That is
going.
true, but we're gonna,
Yeah.
Like I need people to believe something about me, whether or not it's true. Okay.
Yeah, she's, a lot of people, and I know this isn't all about Ann's show, but one thing I love pointing out to people is I go, you do not realize Ann's lived two lives. when I first met her, she was working as something like a secretary. And then
Yeah,
I dragged her off. We had a job opportunity, and I dragged her off to this company, and they trained us to be computer technicians. Mm-hmm. And she's better at it than I was. And I went to school for it. And but they trained us, Microsoft trained us to work. That was in 1995. And for the last 18 years, 25 years, she's been a computer technician.
Yeah.
And then
For as long as we've been.
and then when we hit Virginia, she started. Virginia was paradise for me. We were up on a mountain, fireplace that kept us warm. Our house was full of young people, and every night was music and games. We hardly ever watched television. If we weren't out watching at SCA events, or if we weren't going to musical events, it was happening in our house.
So that was just for gathering, for entertainment?
Yeah, just getting together and entertaining
fellowship.
ourselves, yeah.
I don't know that I would call it fellowship. I would call it something that was
kids-
necessary for life.
Yeah,
For them,
our neighbor would
certainly.
come over, and my daughter and her friend who was living with us at the time would get together, and they'd just start playing in the living room, and and then we weren't doing that. We were playing board games or whatever. It was just a very that was winter. Well, as soon as summer started up, you're out there gardening and stuff. But and in that moment, that's when I really heard her sing. She had always, I mean, I knew she could sing. I'd heard her at choir. But when you're in a choir, you're a voice of many. And I'm like, well, she's pretty good at choir.
Yeah.
Then we're in Virginia, and she starts, and I'd like walk in there, and I'm like, you got the radio on?
So she's a selfless singer. That's something that we talk about in improv is you want to be a selfless actor because you need to, there has to be a push and pull, there's a tug of war, but you don't want to like jerk one person. Yes, and yeah. And so you want to be able to give someone enough rope, not to hang themselves, but to like
Save themselves.
Save themselves, right? And if you take it all over, then they're not. So you're like that with music.
I am.
So he finally got to hear you in your essence, like going 0 to 100 when you're gardening. When you're
when
not
she was
having
gardening, when she was bathing. I mean,
Yeah.
one of the, like I said, bathing the kids or cooking or whatever,
Yeah.
she would start singing.
just
And-
freeing your soul, not allowing other people to join in.
And then later on, she says, I kind of want to start performing. And I'm like, ooh, I wish you would have said this 20 years. Well, I say this because 20 years ago, my father was in the industry. My grandfather was in the industry, and they had connections. And I could have helped her a little more than we're doing. But no, seriously, she finally comes out of the bathroom or the closet or where you want to go and says, yeah, I think I'm going to perform. Okay. It's
You were surprised because you hadn't seen her
She
speak
never
about
stood,
it
yeah.
professionally before.
She never said anything about it. She even quit singing for years because
My daughter was in choir.
my daughter was in choir, and it was upsetting our daughter because she didn't understand the years of practice Ann had before that moment. She wanted, like a lot of kids nowadays, they think they're just going to jump into that
Oh yeah.
20-year profession that you've been doing for 20 years and be as good as you are. And it's like, but anyway, yeah, she came out of nowhere and said, I want to perform. And I'm like, okay, let's see what we can do to make this happen.
And here we are.
Yeah, that was
It's wild.
4 years ago.
That's so wild because
I had stage fright. I've had stage fright, really bad stage fright for a very, very long time.
yeah, and you get on stage and you not just perform, like you captivate, which is two very different things. Because I can perform, I'm pretty good at it,
You're
but
very
as
good at
for jumping and grabbing a lasso around the crowd and being like, no, this is my time, that's a waxing and waning thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you kind of, but when Ann's on stage, and I'm not just, tooting your horn or whatever, but I'm always captivated. And then I kind of look around and I notice ain't nobody talking during this thing where, I'm constantly looking around going, damn it. Like, they're having a conversation. I better amp this up. I'm getting boring.
You got to ham it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But no, it's interesting to me that like even as part of like your everyday life, and I hear this about like really good jazz players or like it's a really big component of Victor Wooten, if you watch any of his clinics, he's very big about, like, you live a musical life and you're kind of surrounded by it, which sounds like has been the case for you. For me, that's something I have to go into. Like, that's like a space I have to enter into. Like, I don't have that kind of like, oh, feel like I need to hum or whistle. Like, I was, a very quiet kid. And so for me, like, when I want to do music, I have to, like, go into the place where I do music. It's not just around. So I think there's a really a benefit to that.
You should come to our house sometime. It's almost like a musical. Tim's in the front room. No, Tim's in the front room playing on the piano. Anne's in her office singing between assignments that she does for her job. Kellen's in the back room playing, whatever she's doing, listening to music. And then, I may be in the middle room practicing guitar or whatever.
Yeah. And I love that. It's interesting. I love like those moments because, you work at a music store and I also teach at a private school, and I love those like moments of like cacophony where there's like 4 or 5 different things going on, and it's just like, yes, this is the sound of it being busy. This is the sound of it being alive. Like when you hear silence, it's like, yeah, great, I love it. It's peaceful, but also like there's nothing happening. So having all that activity is always a good thing, and so I've loved that. And part of going to music school that I loved about that was there's always some kind of thing going on. There's always this
Yeah, I would have loved to grown up in a house like that.
Yeah,
like none of my family plays music.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah. Well, my dad can't carry a tune in a bucket, or couldn't carry a tune in a bucket. He passed away last year.
I'm sorry.
And my mother, on the other hand, could. My sister can sing. So, there was the 3 of us, but none of us played any instruments. We sang, and it just wasn't in the cards for me to play anything when I was younger. And while I could take the time to learn to do it now, there's so many demands on my time that it's just not even fun.
I laugh because growing up in my household, the only thing we were exercising was screaming at each other.
Yep.
I had identical twin sisters who were barely 2 years younger, who thought, I was not qualified to be their older brother, and we fought all the time.
Yep.
So
I can only imagine.
Same. I'm the oldest of my siblings, and they were all bigger than me at 13. Like, this is... Yeah.
That's got to be frustrating.
Unqualified. Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
my mom tells a story about how when she would try to sing to me when I was a baby, I would cry, and when she'd stop, I'd stop.
Really?
I don't know that she's a bad singer. I don't remember, but she's like, I stopped singing for that, so it wasn't music. But I was quiet. I would be playing in my room, no noise at all, and they'd have to come check on me, and they're like, "Are you still alive?" Like,
my parents.
No, I'm having a great time in silence. It's great.
Silence.
And then I became a musician, which
you got to wonder about that.
My parents prayed for silence out of me. Yeah.
There's a story Anne tells that they thought that where her parents lost her.
My mom, yeah. So when I was growing up, which 70s, 80s, right?
When the dinosaurs roamed the earth.
Yes. Yeah. When the world was young and dinosaurs roamed the earth, we could walk to the swimming pool and back. And so we did.
Without getting picked up by a creeper.
Right. There were no pedo vans then.
Though they were station wagons.
Anyways.
There was lots of candy, but they were stored in different places.
I was gonna ask, where did you get your free candy from?
So I walked home, and I think I said something to my mom, and then I, for some unknown reason, went and laid down in her room. I don't know why. She doesn't know why. They looked for me for 4 hours.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. I really.
What's that lump
4
in our
hours?
bed?
I think yes. I fell asleep. I was tired. I'd been swimming all day.
The trauma I can only imagine from a parent.
Yeah.
If I lost my son for 4 hours, whoa, man.
My mom was flying apart at the seams.
I lost my son for 10 minutes the other day.
Yeah.
Because he's very quiet. He's very opposite of me. And he's philosophical and artsy and to himself. And so he was having a little moment where he was sad about stuff and he didn't want to be seen. So he went to his room and went to his closet and then sat down in the closet.
And sat down in the closet.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I'm yelling his name. Okay. After about 2 minutes, I'm walking outside around the house. I'm yelling his name. 4 minutes go by. Now I'm screaming and I'm cussing. And I'm like, you better hope to God at this point I don't find you, boy. And then
that explains the other 5-6 minutes.
Yeah.
and and now 5 more minutes go along. Now he's scared of me finding him.
Yes,
And
that's generally speaking
that was
the
like
way
the
it goes.
first. That was the first moment he heard me. Right. The first time I got loud was because I was pissed off, and
Isn't
so
that the way it normally
he
goes?
finally yes,
Yeah.
isn't it? And then he finally comes out, dude, and I was like, that's 10 minutes. I was like, my heart's
You were
pounding out of my
thankful.
chest. I'm thankful.
So very thankful for that.
I love you so much.
I think
I'm sorry,
every
never-
parent's gone through that. I did.
4
with my
hours.
son.
4 hours.
Yeah, I did that with my son. He
Well,
wandered off and got on the school bus when he was
Oh, yeah.
4.
7.
Oh my God.
And
Yeah,
one-
yeah, he
and-
was 4 and a
and-
half. Yeah.
He was 4.5. So I understand it. I get it. Scared the hell out of me
It'll
when
change
that
you.
happened. It does. It really does. I was freaking out.
I had to.
Because-
The real creepy thing of that story really is he just wandered off. He shows up 3.5 miles later at my my great aunt's house. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And I
he's
go
got
up to the
family
store and I'm
How
about
the
to
hell
call
did
the
that
sheriff
happen?
because we didn't have a phone yet. We
He's
just
got
moved.
family everywhere up
Yeah,
here.
that's a coincidence, my man.
But anyway, I'm going, I need to use your phone. I got to call the sheriff's office. My son is missing. And the person goes, Dorothy Nichols just called. She just found a little boy in her backyard.
Without a shoe.
Without a shoe. And I'm like,
I don't know how that happened.
I know that kid.
Yeah, that is crazy.
So,
Sorry,
yeah,
let me
that
go
was
just collect that. That was
horrific.
mine.
Yeah.
Dang.
Well, I got to tell you guys, it's been really great having you here. This has been one of the best conversations I've had in a while. And
Thank
I
you
have
for having
really
us.
Yeah, thank you.
appreciated it.
Appreciate it.
So, Brad Roberts, Matt Blackshear, and of course my loving husband, Christopher House, thank you very much for being on the Texoma Open Mic Podcast. Y'all have a really, I don't know what y'all have planned for the rest of the day, but I hope it goes well for you.
Food.
Food.
Weekend.
Nap time.
Nap time.
No, I think I gotta go do karaoke. I'm just gonna walk down the road and have another one of these glasses of we'll call it coffee.
Yes.
In a coffee cup.
Well, thank you again for coming. I really appreciate
Oh,
it.
the
And
shout out, the karaoke tonight.
going to
There is
karaoke?
karaoke.
Red Rock.
Red Rock's doing
Yeah,
karaoke
the
tonight.
Red Rock does karaoke, and so does Kickback.
Oh, that's right. Kickbacks has got karaoke
They're doing karaoke
tonight,
now.
too.
Yeah, on Thursday night. So
I might
there
be all
you
over
go,
town.
Kickbacks.
There you go.
There's your free endorsement. Yo.
I might have to run it tonight. So if I have to run it, then I can't
Yeah.
go to kickbacks. But if I
Gotcha.
don't, y'all gonna see me everywhere.
All right.
Because
Sounds
all
like
I got to
fun.
do is work in the morning, and they can deal with how I act. Thank you so much for having us.
Good night. Oh.
Good night, everybody.